In this edition of Punctuation Primer, we are going to talk about the Oxford comma, which is also sometimes known as a serial comma and sometimes known as the Harvard comma. Now, when you're creating a list and you only have two items, you don't need a comma to introduce the second item. For example, we have Ben and Jerry. There's only two items here, so there's no comma before the conjunction and that introduces the second item. However, when your lists have three or more items, you're going to use a comma to introduce each new item. And that includes a comma before the conjunction that introduces the last item. Now, you may notice that some publications, such as newspapers and magazines, don't use this rule. And that's because the Associated Press has its own style guide, which doesn't prescribe the use of the Oxford comma. However, in academic contexts, most referencing and style guides recommend the use of the Oxford comma. This includes APA, MLA, and Chicago Manual Style. And you'll even see reports where courts of law recognize the use of the Oxford comma in their rulings. The question here is, why do we even need it? And the main purpose is for the sake of clarity. And there's two reasons why the Oxford comma provides clarity. First, it helps to distinguish the difference between compound items, and it also helps to avoid confusion with coordinate elements. But let's take a look at how each of these work. Compound items. We have items 1, comma, 2A and 2B, comma, and 3. Now here, because of the placement of the comma, we know that 2A and 2B go together. However, if we remove the comma, it's now unclear if 2A and 2B go together or if 2B and 3 go together. And that can change the meaning of your sentence. Example, I order my chai tea latte with extra chai, comma, no water, comma, and cinnamon and nutmeg. And we have here the Oxford comma showing that cinnamon and nutmeg go together. We're ordering it with no water and we're adding cinnamon and nutmeg. However, if we remove that Oxford comma, the sentence could be read as follows. I order my chai tea latte with extra chai, comma, no water and cinnamon, and nutmeg. And now in this context, it sounds like we're getting no water and no cinnamon. And that is very different than getting cinnamon and nutmeg. And I can assure you that if this order were screwed up and I did not get my cinnamon, I would be one angry cat. What if we just have simple items? Well, the Oxford comma is still important even in these contexts. Let's take a look at an example. My favorite cooks are my parents, comma, Colonel Sanders, comma, and Wendy. And now you'll see that we have 1, 2, and 3 separate items clearly delineated from the commas, including the Oxford comma. Without the Oxford comma, that same sentence could be read as follows. My favorite cooks are my parents, comma, Colonel Sanders and Wendy. And now it looks like Colonel Sanders and Wendy are your parents, because the reader might interpret this as a coordinate element or as an appositive, which is simply a renaming of the parents. And that's not the case here, so we need the Oxford comma to delineate the separate items. Now, let's do a quick summary of what we've just covered. 1, if you have two items in your list, you don't have to worry about the Oxford comma. If, however, you have 3 or more items, we need a comma to introduce each new item, and that includes a comma preceding the conjunction that introduces the final item. Now, we do that for two key reasons. 1, so that the reader can understand how the compound elements are structured in a list, if there happens to be a compound element. And likewise, even with simple items, we want to make sure that simple items don't get confused with coordinate elements or are read as appositives. And that is all we have for the Oxford comma. Hopefully that was clear to you, but If you have any questions at all about the Oxford comma, leave them in the comment section below, and I will be sure to get to them as soon as possible. Until next time, take care of yourselves and each other.